Hi guys, it's Paula and I hope you are doing well. It is time to talk about the Pantone color of the year for 2022. I love this video. Historically, I've done this video with my girl Elisabeth every year, and I did reach out to her as well as Mercedes, who I did the Shopping Our Stash collab with as well, and neither one of them are currently available to collab with me on this video, which makes me so sad that they weren't able to join me along for this video today. But I will leave their channels linked down below so that you could check out their content and subscribe if you're interested in seeing what they have to offer. But luckily, I was able to find somebody to collaborate with me on this video. So today, this video is in collaboration with Alex. She is Alejandra Lisette. And thank you so much to Alex for being willing to collaborate with me on this video. It means the world. If you guys don't know, Alex is a project planner and an eyeshadow enthusiast. She loves eyeshadows. She's really knowledgeable about indie eyeshadows. I love watching her channel, but she not only has a great YouTube channel, she's just a great person. If you are lucky enough to know Alex, you will know what I mean. She is just one of the good ones, and I'm so lucky to call her a friend. So thank you so much to Alex for collaborating with me on this video. Of course, her channel is linked down below as well. And if for some reason you haven't subscribed to her channel yet, please head over there right now and do that, and then come back and finish watching. So every year, Pantone releases the color of the year. I first became aware of this trend, what year was it? Hold on. I first became aware of the Pantone color of the year being a thing in the year 2014, and for that year the color was Radiant Orchid. And I'm sure that this had been a thing before that, I just wasn't aware of it, but I definitely think that somebody realized that there was a market for the Pantone color of the year and makeup, and a lot of products started coming out with this Radiant Orchid theme, and I was living my best orchid life. And then the next year was Marsala, which was just an amazing color for makeup as well. There have been some years that weren't as inspiring as far as makeup, and there have been years where there's been bigger collabs with these Pantone colors of the year, and we've been seeing a huge influence on the makeup being released. And then there's been years where it wasn't as impactful. But Pantone announced last month, or maybe 2 months ago, that the color of the year for 2022 is going to be Very Peri. Peri is short for periwinkle, of course. So immediately I started getting DMs sharing that information with me. You guys are always looking out to make sure I know what is going on in the world, because I get a little lost sometimes. And I knew that it was time to plan another Shopping Our Stash video. So today, Alex and I will be shopping our stash for the shade Very Peri. I have some information, of course. I always like to see what Pantone has to say about their color of the year. So I pulled up their website and got the information. Very Peri is a Pantone color whose courageous presence encourages personal inventiveness and creativity. I like that. I'm all for creativity. Very Peri, a dynamic periwinkle blue hue with a vivifying violet red undertone as the Pantone color of the year. Blending the faithfulness and constancy of blue with the energy and excitement of red, this happiest and warmest of all the blue hues introduces an empowering mix of newness. Displaying a carefree confidence and a daring curiosity that animates our creative spirit, inquisitive, intriguing, Very Peri helps us to embrace this altered landscape of possibilities, opening us up to a new vision as we rewrite our lives, rekindling gratitude for some of the qualities that blue represents, complemented by a new perspective that resonates today. Very Peri places the future ahead in a new light. I love how creative they get with these descriptions. It's a color, but they make it sound like it's a movement. So basically it's a blurple, okay? Very Peri is a blurple. That's what I was kind of looking for as I was shopping my stash for some eyeshadows. I don't have a ton of periwinkle type eyeshadows, and typically I tend to go for much warmer purples. I'm very attracted to like pinky purples, purples with a lot more red in them than these kind of cool toned periwinkle shades. So it's not like my favorite kind of purple, but if it becomes my favorite kind of purple in the next year, I now know that I have plenty of periwinkle to shop my stash from. I don't need to buy anymore, which is the whole point of a shopping our stash video, is to prove to myself that no matter what amazing collaboration is released at Sephora within the next 12 months for the very Peri Pantone color of the year, I don't need it. I will be okay without it because I have it. I have everything. I have anything I could possibly need when it comes to eyeshadow. So I can refer back to this video if needed. So let's roll up our sleeves and see what we have. Not all of these colors are spot on for the Pantone color of the year, but I think if we were to give this shade a mother and a father and a grandmother and a grandfather and little brothers and sisters, these would all be members of the same family. So that's kind of what I was going for. Lighter versions, darker versions, and some spot on versions. But I was trying to stick with that same periwinkle tone as what I saw in the pictures I could find online. So the first eyeshadow I found comes out of my Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette, and this is the shade Fairy. Oh Lord, this one down here. I think that could be a nice periwinkle shade. Let's just go straight to the arm, eh? This palette smells amazing. Next, I have this pretty old palette from Sephora. It's called the Ombre Obsessions. I've had this for a while, and it's got these ombre eyeshadows. But look right up there, I think is some very Peri. I'm almost tempted to just run my finger across the entire pan. All right, I ran it across the entire pan. We'll see what that looks like. There you go. Very similar. Okay, this next shade has been a slight disappointment to me since the day I got it, and it is a shade from my ABH Prism palette, and the shade is Dimension. I do think this is close to being a very Peri shade, but it's just not quite there. It's just never been quite there for me. I always feel like it looks a little bit grayed out, but man, is that soft. It's never quite as bold as I want it to be. Yep, even against those three, it's still like the grayest of the bunch. They're all very similar though. All right, next I found my Urban Decay Vice Limited Reloaded palette, and I found the shade UVB, which has a lot more blue in it than some of these other shades, but when I swatch it, we'll see. It's pretty Peri. At least I thought it was. Ooh. Another more bluey periwinkle comes from the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. I know a lot of us have this palette, and I've always felt like this shade right here, I think it's called Royal? No, Twerk. This blue shade always surprises me with how much purple is in it. So I figured, you know, maybe this would fit in the family. It looks like a straight up royal blue in the pan, but when I swatch it, it has so much purple to it. Yeah, it's got way more purple than that Urban Decay shade. It's amazing how purple that shade is. All right, this next one is one of the lighter shades, and it is from my Pat McGrath, the Celestial Odyssey palette. This was the holiday palette for 2021. And the shade is right here. It is just a stunning, beautiful shade. My friend Elisabeth, who is Cookie Pans, predicted that that would be my favorite shade in the palette, and she was right. It is. It's my favorite shade in the whole palette. Oh yeah. That would bring a gorgeous pop of brightness to any one of these eyeshadows. This next one is not technically an eyeshadow, but I tend to use it as an eyeshadow for that brightening inner corner highlight. And that is this Wet n Wild highlighter. This is the shade Lilac to Reality. And I don't know if I am gonna wear this on my cheeks anymore, but I will definitely wear it as an eyeshadow, so I figured I would pull it in and swatch it. Yeah. Look at that. That is just a gorgeous, gorgeous shade. Okay, next I have my BH Cosmetics Eyes on the 60s palette. And I do feel like there was a pretty decent periwinkle shade in here. This one right down here, I think is the closest to periwinkle as I could find. I don't think this is going to be the most pigmented swatch ever. But I'm definitely one of those people who sometimes likes an eyeshadow that's not too pigmented. Yep, that's periwinkle. This next shadow is extremely pigmented on the other hand, and it comes from my Lorac Mega Pro 2, and it is the shade Purple, and this is one of the deeper ones. Right here, that's a very deep periwinkle. I almost feel like lavender might be a periwinkle too. Maybe I'll swatch both of them. Like butter. So pigmented. So pigmented, so periwinkle. All right, there's the lighter shade. And there's the darker shade. Not the best swatches. I think it's time to move on to my right arm. Next, I have my Colourpop Element of Surprise palette, and I have a couple of these kind of duochrome shades. I have another one in a minute that I think is not quite periwinkle, but is close enough that I think it would fit in with these periwinkle eye looks. It is virtually impossible for me to understand how Colourpop configures these shadow names on the back with the actual shades, but it's either Subdue or Opulent. I'm not sure which one, but here it is right here. It's pretty sheer with a lot of glitter. I don't know if it's really showing up. The other one that I have that's kind of like that comes from my Juvia's Place Magic palette. And this is the shade Fazo. And it's this one. And again, it's like a duochrome, but I feel like it will fit well with these periwinkle looks. Look at that. That's got a little bit more red to it. Next, I found one shade in my Zodiac palette from BH Cosmetics. Most of the purples in this palette are very red, warm toned purples. They're not like cool periwinkle. But this one down here for Cancer, this baked one, is definitely more of a cool tone purple. So I figured I'd swatch that. Ooh, it's pretty dark. I forgot how dark this was. Wow. That is like nothing else I have. Okay, I feel like this next shadow is the most spot on to Very Peri out of all of the eyeshadows I pulled for today, and that is Lavender from my Dose of Colors Ice Cream Palette. Look at this. Nailed it. That is Very Peri right there. If I was looking for a true Very Peri, I think I would just stop at this one shadow and be like, yep, that's it right there. Got it. I feel like that is Very Peri perfectly. I feel like I've maybe used this shadow a few times, but not much. Like I said, these just aren't shades that I typically go for. They're a little too close to blue, and you guys know how I feel about blue. Very Peri. Next, I have this old Metals palette from Ulta Beauty. I've had this for such a long time. And the shade that I'm going to swatch is this one up here called Dynasty. Not the most pigmented shadow. Okay, next I have my Wet n Wild Petal Pusher palette. This is basically an untouched palette. Sadly, a while ago it fell and a couple of the shades shattered, and I lost a huge amount of this pan of eyeshadow, and this one had to be repressed, but I've never really used it. But when I saw this shade down here, I thought that definitely fit into the Very Peri family. It's a blurple. Oh, that did not swatch well at all. Yikes. Come on, Wet n Wild, come through. I hope this isn't an anticlimactic ending to this video. All right, we have a couple more to get through. This is an oldie. This is my BH Cosmetics It's Judy Time palette. I was so excited to buy this palette when it came out. Judy was my first YouTuber, by the way. And she has a couple of periwinkle shades in this palette right here. So I will go ahead and swatch both of them. Can't even see where that Wet n Wild swatch was, can I? All right, that's a little better. There you go. Next, I have my NYX Avant Pop Palette. Right there. Nicely pigmented, very soft powder. It's a good palette. Not bad. And finally, I have another BH Cosmetics palette. BH Cosmetics has really never been afraid to dip their toes into the periwinkle pool, have they? This is the Wild and Free Baked Eyeshadow Palette. And it's a little bit more purple than periwinkle, but I figured I would swatch this shade right there. I've had that palette for years and it still swatches better than a bunch of these. Uh-oh. Gotta keep the sleeves up. Well, I think it's safe to say that not all of these shadows are the best performing shadows on earth, but I definitely feel like if the mood strikes me, I have plenty of inspiration to turn to, and I don't need to buy a palette that's focused on periwinkle. Love the idea. I think the concept is really cool, and I definitely think I will be exploring some of these eyeshadows throughout the year and playing with them. Maybe I'll include some of them in projects as the year goes on, but I don't need to buy any, that's for sure. No, I'm good. I have some periwinkle around here that I can use. So I had a lot of fun shopping my stash for these shadows. I do love doing these videos, and it's been about a year, so this was a lot of fun. I am so interested to know what you guys think about this Pantone color of the year. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you want to dye your hair this color again? Let me know what you think about this color, and let me know what palettes you have that you will be shopping your stash for when you feel inspired to do a periwinkle look. I'm very curious to know. Thanks again to Alex for collaborating with me on this video. You are the best. And that's it. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.